if you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to come knowing it's going to be tough. I try to inspire as much as I can. My dad's obviously an inspiration. I followed him into business. You're going to face some challenges and you might face some ignorance, but you can't afford to give up. Needless to say, I wouldn't change anything because it's been such an incredible experience.
Hello and welcome to the Lloyds British Business Excellence Awards Beyond the Trophy podcast. Today we are joined by Mike Williams, who is co-founder and managing director of Flake Bake. Welcome, Mike. You were a finalist in the awards last year, I believe in 2 categories.
Yes.
I had the pleasure of meeting you at, I believe, our House of Commons event that we hosted and many events across the year. And it was such a pleasure getting to know you, your lovely wife, and everyone that you brought with you on the night. And it's just, this community that we're building, I very much see you as part of it, to tell your business journey and share your success. You've had an amazing story. So for the purposes of, our viewers and our listeners, tell us a bit about Flake Bake and what the business is, so we can all learn a little bit more about. I know that it's delicious patties, but let's tell everyone else.
Yeah, so Flake Bake, we are a Jamaican patty manufacturer, the largest handmade patty manufacturer in the UK actually, and we started in 2012. We supply predominantly the Caribbean takeaway market in Southeast London. And in case no one knows what a Jamaican patty is, it's a meat-filled pastry, a bit like a Cornish pasty with a lot more spices and herbs. And you can get it in like a chicken, beef, veggie, those kind of flavours. Really, really lovely. So yeah, we've been going for 12 years. And what really brought us to fame last year is winning the Aldi Next Big Thing TV show on Channel 4. Aldi put our products on the shelves for the first time and they sold out in 48 hours. They took another order from 25,000, they jumped to 100,000 patties. We sold 80,000 in a week, and they then took another special buy order again because there was so much demand for the product that they had to give us a long-term listing. So now you can find our patties in 1,000 Aldis right across the UK.
Wow, 1,000 Aldis.
Yes, it was a national listing.
Wow.
Which is not normal when you...
Yeah, and it's a difficult sector to get into, to pitch, to get into the big supermarket. So it's fantastic that you had that immediate almost, springboard.
It really was. I think while we've been operating as a handmade patty business, we never looked at supermarkets because we heard about how challenging it could be to supply them and the volumes, and we were never going to be making those kind of volumes by hand. Needless to say, 20,000 by hand is actually crazy. We discovered that no one else is doing that in the UK, but we needed the help of a large-scale manufacturer to support that, and that did take some time to find one of those, but once we convinced them enough with the help of Aldi, we were able to supply. So it did feel like overnight, but there was a lot of work in the background to get to that stage.
So tell me a bit about what happened in the lead up to that. So you co-founded a business with your dad?
That's correct, yes.
And you were at university before?
Yes, I was at university before. So I studied economics and politics at the University of Sussex. I used to play cricket there, so it was a really, really good time. Brighton is one of the best cities to live in. Lots of fun. But then I also did a master's at Warwick University. So just before I opened the business, I thought I didn't know enough about business, even though I studied economics and politics. I really wanted to do banking, become a banker. Not, most people don't like that role, but it's what I wanted to do. And then having gone to Warwick University, my dad always had his Caribbean takeaways, selling Caribbean food as well as bread and also patties. And I wanted to help him transform that business. So what was inspiring me was seeing Levi Roots back in 2007, winning Dragon's Den. And also there were other Caribbean patties or Jamaican patties in retailers. So that was enough inspiration for me to go back after uni and spend maybe a year or so to help my dad set this new business up, which would take the patties from his existing business and then make that a sole product and a sole business. And that's how Flake Bake was born. But 12 years later, I'm still there running the company.
Well, you obviously enjoy it. I think that's probably the key part of that. And your career could have been so different, really, had you
Yeah,
not had that
it would have
foresight.
been different. I wouldn't have been eating so many patties. I'll say that.
Amazing. So your culture, the culture around, where the business was born at South London and the Jamaican culture obviously has had an influence in your career and your business journey. Tell us a little bit more about that culture and, like it's obviously started as something that's very specific, but actually I think it really, everybody loves them who
Yeah,
tries them.
another interesting thing about me, I was actually born in Jamaica, so I grew up in Jamaica until I was about 11 years old. So I'm really, really influenced by that culture because it's my foundation. Selling a Jamaican patty makes me sing about the culture so much, and people often think about sun, sea, and probably rum. So yeah, the patties again influenced by or style of cooking and things like that. So it's like sharing a part of Jamaica, especially when it's cold and wet and rainy. But also it's a really good sort of summer food. In Jamaica, it's a snack on the go. So everybody eats patties, at school. That's what I would eat for lunch, my friends. And just like how you'd have maybe like a Greg's, there's a Jamaican patty shop on every street, essentially. Especially nowadays, there's even more Jamaican patty shops around. And that's what we ultimately want to do. We want to share the patties with as many people as possible. And hopefully we would have little Jamaican patty shops dotted around the UK in years to come.
Well, that's the goal, isn't it? We can just help you sell more.
Yeah.
And so the business has grown. I think you are brilliant at shining the light on what you do and really seeking every opportunity that's available to you. And obviously now the business is growing, you're becoming a leader and you have your sphere of influence within your community and your business. What kind of leadership style would you say that you have?
I try to inspire as much as I can. So when I look at especially the people around me, I'm always trying to sell the vision of where I'd like to take the company. And I ask them to look into themselves and see, okay, where do you want to get to in your life? And let's see how we can work together to achieve both our ambitions, because I really want to grow this company. And by growing a company, you're creating job opportunities, and, the people can come along with you. So I'm always trying to sell the dream and always trying to inspire people. I work really, really hard. So if you work in food and food manufacturing, it's very early starts. So since we started the company, it was always going down to the bakery at 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning, getting set up. I don't do it as much anymore, but I'm still waking up and interacting with my team, whether it's a phone call or text, just looking at the day ahead. And that still happens every single day. So I'm very much, my wife thinks I work too hard, so she's always trying to get me to stop. And that's my leadership style, always working hard and trying to inspire.
I think, again, in a business like that, it's not a world I'm in, but it becomes part of you, doesn't it? You sort of can't forget those early starts and thinking, oh, what are the team doing? And I guess you become that way inclined probably forever now.
Yeah, you do. What's interesting, because we get the large volume orders outsourced, so I'm not a part of the production space anymore, but because we still have our original bakery, I'm still very much involved in that. So I do miss that, because I'm always I wonder what's going on with production. So I've seen the production a few times, but I'm not involved with the large volume one. But it just gives us more time to focus on other parts of the business, like sales and marketing, and that's why I'm driving, kind of pushing so hard to promote the culture and the product, because we need to educate more people about it.
And I think you're doing a marvellous job at
you.
doing that. So, Mike, I want to take this opportunity to congratulate you, because you recently won the Lloyds Black in Business initiative, partnered with Channel 4. And I believe you get some advertising opportunities from this. So tell us a little bit more about it.
So the Black in Business initiative, I think it's incredible. What it's trying to do is highlighting or showcasing businesses that are ready to scale or in the process of scaling, and giving them the opportunity to have an advert on TV, because most businesses like ours don't get that opportunity. So I applied because I'd seen some companies on it the year before, and I've seen how it kind of helped their business. And who doesn't want a TV advert for their business, right?
Pretty cool.
So the process was, you submit an application, and then you do a online interview. So they send you a link to some videos that you answer the questions in a video format, and then you have to do a presentation at the end as well. And so I was away for 2 months, and then I flew back just for that presentation.
Oh, really?
But of course it was always going to be worth it, and I did win anyway. So now we're working on producing that advert ready for this summer.
And I mean, that supply chain wise, that again, it could be the Aldi effect.
Well, this is what we're hoping for. We're hoping to attract more interest in the product, probably get it listed elsewhere. But I'm working with large-scale manufacturers. So these are like the top 3 biggest manufacturers in the country that I've been able to work with. So they can manage the kind of volumes that we would love to see.
Yeah. And when it came to sourcing those manufacturers, like, obviously that must have been something that took a while to get the supply chain set up. Was it very difficult to find the right manufacturer? What hurdles did you come across?
It was a challenge. There's an actual Telegraph article about.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there is about, our product had gone viral. We had a video that had 2 million views in 4 days about our Jamaican patties, but we couldn't find anyone to make it at the volume that we wanted because they'd never made a Jamaican patty, like the Cornish pasty makers and the pie makers, they've never made a Jamaican patty before. And also it had this yellowish pastry, which they found challenging, or they were worried about bringing into their factory space. And we just wanted someone to give us a chance. And so when Aldi came back to me and asked, how's it going with the manufacturers? I said, no one wants to make it. They were quite surprised. And so I explained the situation. They made a couple of phone calls and the manufacturers started to call me back.
There you are, you see.
Yeah.
It's like the honesty is the best policy. Imagine if you hadn't had that honest conversation and just sort of said, yes, it's all fine. And then actually, the power of Aldi and working with entrepreneurs like yourself.
Absolutely, because they'd already seen the impact of selling the product and they wanted that to be a part of their regular line. But also when you get a random young man come in from Peckham saying, I want you to make a product for me, that's not a normal thing and you don't see that every day. So, how are you going to pay for this? A trial for a production run could easily cost thousands of pounds, right? So, they're thinking about all these things, and if you're selling sort of 200,000 units or 300,000 units, you need to have the money to pay for that. But Aldi were quite helpful, quite helpful in supporting our journey.
Oh, I'm so pleased to hear that.
Thank you.
I think you are particularly the Lloyds Black in Business initiative with Channel 4 just really highlights amazingly well the need to showcase Black entrepreneurs. And a lot of the entrepreneurs that have gone through that programme, like yourself as well, have come into the BBEAs, and it's something that we're passionate about as well. Yeah. And it's, driving them not just from startups and entrepreneurs, but into SME and larger scale businesses. There was some research in 2019 that there's only, I think, 2.7% of all businesses were black entrepreneurs, Black owned, and now it's up to 7%. It could be better, as we know. It's all over the headlines at the moment. What advice would you give to Black entrepreneurs who might be thinking of starting their own business, or they, have an idea? What advice would you give them?
Yeah, you're right about DE&I. I think for Black entrepreneurs, you have to be really passionate, but you have to come into, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to come knowing it's going to be tough, and you're going to have to persevere. You're going to face some challenges, and you might face some ignorance, but you can't afford to give up. And it's easier said than done. We've been going for 12 years, but people only see our overnight success. But even to the point where we were struggling to find a manufacturer after the product's gone viral, not before anyone knew about us. People already knew, but we couldn't convince other people. So I could have stopped, but I was adamant, and I was always going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. So I would advise any young Black entrepreneur that if you've got an idea, there is also a lot of support now compared to before. Lloyds Bank, they have a Black entrepreneurs program, so they give a lot of support to entrepreneurs. So there's lots of hubs, like entrepreneur hubs, that you can get involved in. People like Foundervine, they're quite good to, form a community. And there's lots of events out there as well, like Bread and Jam. If you're in a food space and you want to meet buyers and things like that, there's so many things. Spill the Beans is another kind of program where you can get to meet buyers and things like that. So compared to when I started, I didn't know about any of these programs. So there is help out there. You can go to any bank that you bank with, they offer support. So I think it's a good time for young entrepreneurs in general to get into business, despite the economic climate, because there's so much support out there now.
I completely agree. I think if you let yourself read the headlines, you could think it's all doom and gloom, but actually really isn't.
Yeah,
and there's
true.
so much talent in this country, and you're testament to that. Of if you've got the idea, just go for it. And no idea is a bad idea.
I completely agree. You just have to keep going.
And so now, I feel like you're, pending this Channel 4 advert that's going to go out, and you've already had your successes, but the trajectory is really positive. So you have to keep yourself motivated and driven. And what really drives you nowadays? And say, for example, in 10 years' time, what do you think the future looks like?
My wife has a stick behind me. Keep going, keep going.
Brilliant.
My children motivate me. I really want to try and give them a really good life and do just whatever I didn't get. And I think that's what all parents try to do, right? Yeah. Whatever you didn't get, you try to give it to your children. So they really do motivate me. And the need to help my community and to represent my community. Sometimes it feels like there's not a lot of role models out there to showcase talent and things like that, and I want to be one of those people. I've always wanted to be a leader in some sort of format. I was head boy of my school, cricket captain when I was growing up, so this just feels like a natural progression now to kind of lead and be a role model in the community. So those are my motivation, wanting to help people, and so the further I get, the more people I try to help.
So who is your role model?
Wow, I've had many. I've been very privileged that I've had lots of mentors throughout the years, or I'd even refer to them as, now they're friends, but I've had mentors since I was at school. So Lindsay John, who an incredible broadcaster and journalist, he's been my mentor since I was 14 years old. He went to Oxford as well, actually, so he inspired me. And now I'm actually going to Oxford now. So he was always behind me, pushing me to work hard. Valen Miller, who's the head of a program called Leaders of Tomorrow. So when I was between 14 and 16, I went to this incredible youth program that tried to help young kids in the community think beyond their postcode or beyond Peckham. And they'd go on residentials. We used to go to America, to business conferences and that kind of thing. They used to teach me or force me to read a broadsheet newspaper. And then I later learned the value of that kind of stuff, importance of speaking properly, that kind of thing. So they were helping me in terms of mentors to lay the foundation. My dad's obviously an inspiration. I followed him into business. My dear mom, who's passed away, she was like the most loving person, the most kind person that I ever knew. So that drives me to want to help people. My mom's love for people and supporting people drives me to help people.
You can see it's instilled in you for sure. Like it's lovely to learn more about that. So again, I said you seek a lot of opportunities, and I think you do it really well. And one of those things is awards. And winning awards, entering into awards. I think even today, before you got here, I checked LinkedIn and there was another award on your roster. And it can be key for any business. So what do you think, what have awards done for your business, or being a finalist in awards done for your business?
The interesting thing about awards are, some people think you win money when you win awards and stuff. You don't. It gives you credibility, right? Yeah. So when people look at the other winners or previous winners of a particular award and they see that you've won, you're like, oh, he's on that level. So there's a lot of credibility. Also, awards nights are quite fun. You get to network, you meet a lot of amazing people, and it's another spotlight. So you win an award, then you get spotlighted, and you might get an interview from it. I've been interviewed by BBC after an awards, and you get into the papers as well. So it really does shine light on your business. So I think they're quite important. And I really enjoy them, actually.
Yeah, well, it's it's a good job. And I think, yeah, out of all of the finalists from last year in particular, that's, you know, when I looked at individuals or businesses that really utilise the opportunity, you were definitely part of that. And you're firmly in the community now. And what I loved was on the night of the awards, I was meeting people who already knew of you, and you seemed to bump into loads of people that you already knew.
Yeah.
And the same thing happened at the judging. When you came to judging, I think there was already people in the waiting room who knew of you, and your businesses weren't connected at all. But I think, you know, in terms of the industry, but you just knew each other throughout the various networks. And I think that's the power of awards and the networking that can come from it.
Yeah, I absolutely love networking. So when you go to an awards night, you're also looking at which companies are there in the final. And yeah, you're competing in one sense, but you also want to see if there's anybody that you can connect and work with as well. So yeah, they're fantastic. But I will say that I don't work for the awards, because a lot of the planning and things that I'm trying to achieve, these are already predetermined in the background. I'm like, okay, I want to get the business to this stage. And the awards are just like the cream on the top to say, wow, I'm actually being recognised for the thing that I would have done anyway. So that's quite nice.
Yeah, it's like a byproduct of the success.
Yeah, it's a byproduct of the success. Yeah, but there are things now. I've looked at some awards and I'm like, actually, I'm gonna apply for that one because I think I could win it.
Amazing. Looking forward, like we said about the future, I think, you know, you've obviously thought about where you want to be. But if you cast your mind back to 2012, you've obviously got this like bank of knowledge of everything you've done between now and then. What would you tell yourself back in 2012? Like, what do you know now that you wish you knew then?
You know what? I didn't know that I could get a manufacturer to make the product. I think if I knew that, I probably wouldn't have spent so much time in the handmade process. Needless to say, I wouldn't change anything because it's been such an incredible experience. I've worked with some of the best people in the Caribbean bakery industry, I'd say. These guys, some of the people have been making patties before I was born, you know, so they're really, really lovely people. So I'm really glad I had that experience, and it kind of set me up for where I'm at now. So, you know, dealing with difficult customers and stuff like that, I think now dealing with even with major retailers feels so easy. Literally, it feels much easier to do what I'm doing now than what I did before. So I think it was a stepping stone. So those 12 years or 11 years are really the foundation to get to this stage. And now I feel like I can build much easier. So it took me 11 years or 12 years to get here. I think I can see the business being, you know, us being one of the biggest patty suppliers across the UK and Europe within a few years' time, purely because of the work I'd put in the first decade.
I think that first decade as well is the element of giving you thicker skin, isn't it? Of actually, you know, what you just said, dealing with certain people having complaints, you can deal with that now because you know what to do and you've got that experience.
Absolutely. There's so many things, whether it's dealing with chasing payments and all that kind of thing. And you know, people talk about in retail, it might be 90 days to get payments. I've waited a lot longer than that to get payments when I was running the business. So you really do get thick skin.
Yeah.
Like you develop it over time. So I genuinely believe those 12 years were crucial to be able to get to this stage. I don't think I would have been able to do it without it.
Mike, it's been so lovely to talk to you and get to know a little bit more about your business, and thank you for sharing your story with us today. I am sure that you will be back here probably in a year's time telling us about all the successes that you've had, and we can't wait to see that ad coming out in April as well.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I really do hope that we can talk in a year or two's time when I've actually won more awards.
More viral moments as well.
More viral moments. I like it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.